Welcome back. Dale Foerster, Vice President, Starr Manufacturing Incorporated, our guest in this portion of the program. Oh-Penn, the Manufacturing Collaborative that we've been talking with here for the past several weeks. Good morning. How are you?
All right, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Starr Manufacturing.
Well, we're located in Vienna, Ohio, which is spelled like Vienna, but it's pronounced Vienna for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Which is about 10 miles west of the Ohio-Penn border, west of Sharon, Pennsylvania. We custom produce equipment and machinery for a diverse range of industries, such as mining, energy, material handling, waste management, including environmental and water pollution, machine equipment manufacturing, and oil and gas. And interestingly, in oil and gas, we do such things such as something called a unit, a dehydration unit, pig launchers, and no, we don't launch pigs, but I can explain that if you like. Water oil separation tanks, and we have a new product that is a water oil separation apparatus, which is sort of a machine which we send water through the machine, and it actually does separate the oil and water very much faster than a typical water oil separation tank. And so this is a new technology that we're just rolling out from an inventor in Houston. We're very excited about this.
How long have you guys been around?
About 50 years.
Really?
Yes.
And where in Vienna?
We are right on what is called Old 82, otherwise known as Warren Sharon Road.
Oh, okay.
All right. We're actually about 200 yards west of the only red light in Vienna, Ohio, which is at the intersection of Old 82, Warren Sharon Road, and 193.
And 193.
Yes.
Okay, so you're in drop-kick distance from Yankee Kitchen, then probably too.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sure you've been to breakfast there a few
absolutely.
times. Yes, absolutely the best.
Absolutely,
that's the original.
It's great breakfast.
Yeah, that's the original one. What's so great about this relationship that's going on that we've been talking about here? Because it encompasses, of course, obviously Ohio and Pennsylvania and a number of counties. What makes this so works? Why is it working so well, I guess? The best question.
Partly because we're industry-led.
Yeah.
What happened is in 2011, one of the local manufacturers, Brian Bigno, called a number of us. And the funny thing is that
who's going to be with us in a couple of weeks, by the way.
Great. And the interesting thing is that we were all competitors, and we weren't exactly enemies, but we were a little bit wary of each other. And despite that, we all saw the same problem happening, which is that we have an aging workforce, and we did not have the training coming out of the schools that we needed. And also, some of the programs had literally died in some of the high schools and tech centers, because it's rare these days that there are hands-on kinds of training anymore in schools. And many of those, even music and art and kinds of hands-on shop training, things like that, are disappearing, even in high schools. And then some of the tech schools were dropping programs such as machining or advanced welding and things like that, because they just didn't have the students going into the programs, because there was a combination of image that students had, teachers and counselors had, and parents had. And we were still under this assumption that grew out of the 50s and 60s that, wow, if you had a college degree and went to college, you were going to have a great life. And unfortunately, then we all saw too many kids coming out of college even with no jobs and very few real skills. And so by joining forces and putting our competition aside and identifying our own problems and issues, and then going to the schools and engaging virtually every school in our region.
Really?
Yes, from superintendents down to counselors to teachers. And then engaging all of the workforce agencies in the entire region. We all formed what has been called in Pennsylvania Industry Partners, and in Ohio, Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition, which is otherwise known as MVMC.
Mm-hmm.
And we have joined a very, very strong coalition which has identified the problems that we've had. the first few meetings we had, we literally pointed fingers at each other and blamed each other. The workforce was blaming the schools were blaming us, we were blaming the schools, et cetera, et cetera. Once we got past that and realized that we were all part of the problem and all part of the solution, we started moving forward.
Well, what did you see that altogether that you weren't doing?
Well, we were not communicating with the schools.
Okay.
Or really workforce agencies as to the kind of training that we really needed, and as to the skills that were missing, and as to the needs we had, and as to the possibility of future employment because of the combination of changing work that we were getting and of attrition caused by many of our great and most talented employees are going to be retiring.
Yeah.
And, those were some of the main problems that we saw.
And how effectively is it going, I guess?
Oh, it's awesome.
Is it really?
Yes. We have been able to help change curriculum in the schools, from high schools through tech centers into universities and community colleges.
So what are we seeing being done?
Oh, all kinds of things.
Okay.
We have just one really cool thing that we've done now 3 years is the Educator in the Workplace program. And during the summer, we have a number of teachers come to various manufacturing facilities and spend a week with us. And they literally work alongside our employees. And they figure out, they learn every job that's out there. For instance, at Starr Manufacturing, we start the teachers out in the office, and we literally walk them through the entire process that we do, from HR into the accounting, into billing, into engineering, drawing, sales, and then they go out on the floor. So they've got that background of all the things that have happened and all the skills that are needed up front before they ever get to the floor. And then I would say probably 100% of the time they are totally shocked at the skills that they see once they do go out on the floor and start working with the people there. They're quite surprised at the skill level.
How receptive have the schools been with all this?
Extremely. We've had over 100 teachers during the last 3 years go through the program just in Ohio. And I believe PA has had the same success. And the teachers then write lesson plans and take those lesson plans back to their schools, share it with other teachers and counselors and principals, and share those lesson plans with their students, because in some cases they've written lesson plans that have become the basis of their lesson plan for a whole week. So they're going to engage students in math and science skills, communication skills, and other skills that directly relate to their experience. They've taken a lot of pictures. They go back in armed with knowledge of real skills that are needed for real jobs now.
Unfortunate for some individuals, but I would think, and then listening to what you're talking about this morning, which has had to be a plus for you, is the stories that we're reading. 4 or 5 years of college, degree, underemployment is the word you hear quite a bit. That has had to be a boost for you guys.
Yes, it is. And there's even another side.
And let me throw debt on top of that, too.
Right. And it's funny, we were thinking the same way, because I was just going to go there with the fact that many, many college students are coming out with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of debt. I have a relative who's has a master's degree and is paying off quite a bit of debt right now. What we're doing, though, is we're aligning credentials, and this has been another great success of of the things that we've been working on the last several years. Students can receive different sorts of certifications, which then apply to, say, a 1-year program.
Okay.
Say they go into a 1-year training program for machining. Let's just use machining as an example. So they go into the 1-year training program for machining. They come out of the program with a certificate. And in the meantime, they've had hands-on training because they've been an intern in a manufacturing facility. So they've had classroom training, textbook training, and real work training. They come out with a very usable certification. They can use that certification then. They've already earn some college credit. They can use that then to apply toward a 2-year associate's degree. They can use that to work on a 4-year college degree, perhaps in engineering. And virtually, we have many of the universities, tech centers, high schools, and community colleges in the area all joining forces to make this happen and articulate those credentials, which means that they each accept the credentials from the other schools. And there's a standard definition of what that test is and what those credentials mean.
Has YSU jumped on board?
Yes.
They have?
Yes.
So what do we see like from Youngstown State?
We
to the best of your knowledge.
Oh, we see from Youngstown, as far as working with us.
Yeah.
Youngstown, Kent State, Eastern Gateway have all been extremely active in this entire process. I don't know what the status is, but all three are working right now as we speak, along with high schools and tech centers, to make those certificates happen.
And the reason why I ask that, because it's interesting how universities are adapting and following up on something which you said a little bit earlier because of attrition. A number of years ago, YSU had the program with First Energy because First Energy was in that situation where they were coming up on attrition and retirement of trying to fill those positions, and that's not a job for everyone.
Right. And the interesting thing, too, is I think most people don't realize the math skills that even the fitter welders and the machinists use. They literally do trig every single day.
Really?
And we used to not tell them that because we didn't want to worry them or have them think that they were going to make a mistake. But yes, they use trig every single day in their work. And as we started looking at all of this, I think a lot of the educators were quite surprised at the level of head work that goes into a lot of this work. And so the universities and community college and tech centers have all joined together with us to try to make this more attractive to people and to realize that, people in these programs are also going to earn college credits. So where is the stigma? But these are real jobs, and you can have real jobs while you're working toward a degree, if that's what your end goal is, or if you even want to change. And, one interesting thing, half of our office staff came from the floor. They started on the floor.
Really?
So do we have experienced and knowledgeable office staff? Our purchasers, estimators, one of our engineers he started on the floor. He's currently working on his engineering degrees. We have literally our quality control person, who is a CWI inspector. I mean, we have numerous employees in the office who started on the floor.
I know, in talking with some of the other folks, too, Dale, in this, the fact that I think we would be surprised as time goes on what the wages are, too, huh?
Yes, the wages are higher than the average wages in both states. They're quite a bit higher. And the thing is, in many shops, such as ours, we are a non-union shop. So we actually advance people based on their skills. Mm-hmm. We don't have a time limit. When they reach certain skills and we have the opportunity, they're doing the work with those skills, then we go ahead and pay them for those skills.
Now, I know we were discussing this, by the way, a little bit right prior to we were going on the air, but story in the Vindicator. In fact, this is from last Thursday, I do believe, September 10th. The Greater Oh-Penn Manufacturing Collaborative was awarded a $2.9 million in funds from the United States Department of Labor American Apprenticeship Grant. The American Apprenticeship Grant was created in response to declining pipeline of qualified young people entering growing industries. So What does that say there about what you're doing?
Well, it's sort of the same thing. We went from a lot of as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the programs at the tech centers and high schools were pretty much dying, the hands-on technical type programs. And some of those are now actually waitlisted. The apprenticeships almost died. And to an extent. I mean, there were some going on, but apprenticeships are real nationally recognized, viable credentials. And we needed to get the apprenticeships going again. That, apprenticeships there are different ways you can do apprenticeships. In some cases, you can take an incumbent worker, meaning a worker who's already working at a spot. And and then they take the right courses and do the right things and work the right number of hours and get the right, do the right testing, et cetera, and they can earn a journeyman degree with apprenticeships. Schools can do the same thing. Many of the school programs, we put a young machinist through an apprenticeship program a few years ago, who had gone to one of the local tech schools, received his machining diploma. And once we compared that to the required courses, he only needed 1 or 2 courses and a number of hours to be able to get his journeyman certificate.
I mean, I can't imagine how much less in debt individuals are with this compared to traditional 4 years. I mean, it's got to be phenomenal.
It is. The technical knowledge and the technical work that machinists or that fitter welders do is, or that many of the people I mentioned in the office, I mean, the technical skills and knowledge they have to have would shock most people if they were just hanging around with them and watching what they do daily. I mean, their skills in blueprints, in drawing, in knowing how to build a product, and we only build metal things, and many of them are huge room size. Many of them are very, very complicated, and they can only be built in a certain way. Almost every one of them have very, very stringent and strict parameters to which we have to build those things. We all have to follow our ISO certification, which means you're signing off to a set way of doing things and a set way of checking your work, et cetera, et cetera. It's complicated. It's a lot more complicated than anyone would believe. We do not have robots standing there doing the work, I can tell you right now.
So Starr Manufacturing, you're looking for what right now?
Well, we are looking for a good machinist.
Okay. And
we are always looking for great fitter welders with a lot of experience.
Why is that become so popular? Is it because of attrition, Dale, the profession of welding? Because not only do I hear that from you, but I hear that from so many other industries. Is that the case, or the fact that, again, it's something not for everyone?
I think, I don't know. I don't know whether it's because we've just got so much more publicity right now that we've been all talking about it. It may seem very, very popular in our region, partly because of the Oh-Penn efforts.
Right.
Because one of our main goals was to publicize this. However, a lot of this is happening simultaneously throughout the country. So there must be kind of a watershed or a need when so many baby boomers are starting to retire, and they were the persons many times who were trained in the military, or they spent 10 years training for the position because the way work and jobs and companies were set up was very different then. We do not have 10 years now to train a person. We have to take somewhat trained people that are already trained and already started, and then we have to take them from the skills that they come into our manufacturing companies with. We know, based on what their training is, what we should expect from them and where they should be. And we take it from there and we train them specifically for our particular needs at our particular facilities. And then we continue training often with specialized courses that we offer. But because we don't have the time to wait, we need to train. I think it's just become a much more official and much more structured training because most of the older workers who are in our companies were trained on the job by other workers, and it took a long time. So
your message, if you were in front of a group of parents who had kids that are juniors and seniors, your speech to them would be what?
My speech would be, check out the Industry Needs You website.
Okay.
There are spots on there for teachers, parents, students. There are tons of questions answered on those websites, tons of information, links that'll send you all over the place. Check out the films that are on there. There are some videos that are made especially for each of those three groups. Look at all three of them. Get with your parents, get with your teachers. Talk about the opportunities. Even if you start working on the floor, that does not mean that if you want to be an engineer, you can eventually do that, but you may not have a big bill, and it may take you longer than 4 years to do that. But in the meantime, you'll really know what you're doing. We had a young welder come in from one of the tech programs, and he found out right away that he loved fitting.
Mm-hmm.
So he is now a fitter, and he's doing an excellent job. We had another young welder come in for a tech program, and we found out very quickly that was not for him. And these were both intern positions, so they had not even really gone out to the workforce yet. They were still in their training period, but they came into us as interns. But we recommended, for instance, for one of the welders and one young machinist, we recommended that they look at possibly going to engineering school, partly because of the grades they made on their outgoing testing in their tech center, and partly because of the skills that we saw. And most others, though, already know by the time they get into the internship program that they either love this or they don't, or they want to go further, or they're happy doing this. It's just, there's so many opportunities, and that's what I would say. It's not, we are so safety conscious, so safety aware. Safety for all of us is extremely important. So it's not the dangerous place that it used to be.
IndustryNeedsYou.com is the website. How can they get more information about Starr Manufacturing?
They can contact Starr Manufacturing, go to our website, or give us a call. Our phone number is on our website. Or they can, again, they can go to the Industry Needs You website, and all the member companies are listed there, along with some information. And, if they do call us, I'll be happy to give them some more information.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Do appreciate it. That'll wrap it up for this morning's program. News Radio 1200 WKST.